rig with Alex Toledo alongside in 11th. Alessandro Zetti starts 12th. Kyle Paz heads row 5 ahead of Vostatek and Ishizuoka, with Kroza and the August brothers on the 6th row of the grid. And rounding out our lineup, we have Rechacek and Moreno. As mentioned, no Piotr Bieszczykowski due to illness. His weekend is already at an end.
Engines rumbling then on the start line as the riders begin their warm-up lap here. The Algarve International Circuit is such a stunning venue. If you've never been before, then put it on your bucket list when fans are eventually allowed back in. Unfortunately, no fans trackside today as far as we can see. Wins the race, then they're level on points again. So Alonso Lopez is doing really well just to keep tabs and keep the pressure on his teammate Aldeguer.
Absolutely. Lopez will be hoping that this season follows the Jonathan Ray Alvaro Bautista template from World Superbikes a few years ago. Just by taking those second places, it reduces the margin for error that this man on screen, Aldeguer, has, who has been dominant this season. His victories recently have been pretty comfortable, but one mistake, and that's all it takes. One error, one crash, and the championship is wide open again.
This is motorcycle racing. Very easy to make a mistake. These guys are some of the best on European soil. But no matter. Everyone makes mistakes sometimes, but Fermin Aldeguer, Alonso Lopez and that man Adam Norridin, we're hoping it's not them today. As the riders then rev their engines and get set for race 1 here at the Algarve International Circuit. What can Lukas Tulovic do from the middle of the front row? The red flag will move shortly after the green flag's waved in the background. Watch for the lights in the top left-hand corner of your screen. They'll come on. They'll go off and we're away, and it's a great start from Fermin Aldeguer from the pole position. Got away really well. Alonso Lopez not quite. Is he going to get past into turn 1? I don't think he is. It's a comfortable lead then, and whole shot for Fermin Aldeguer as Alonso holds on to second place. How crucial could that be? And it's the two Dynavolt intact boys going into 3rd and 4th, and it's Lukas Tulovic making the best of the start from the middle of the second row, getting the better of Adam Norridin, but Fermin Aldeguer it is who leads on lap 1.
Yeah, tremendous start by Tulovic. He went right around the outside of his teammate into turn 1. He got alongside Adam Norridin, but he was on the outside and he just went straight around the outside. And he's now having a go at Lopez. That's going to be tight. That's going to close on him. Lopez has to give that one up, I think. No, he just holds it around the outside as Tulovic thinks better of it. Still a long way to go in this race. You don't want to make that kind of mistake early on, and that's put him under pressure from his teammate Adam Norridin. But it's job done at the moment for the two Boscoscuros out front. That's the kind of start the team would have wanted. Aldeguer and Lopez maintaining their 1-2 off the line.
Yeah, perfect start for Aldeguer. Not so perfect for Alonso, but he kept second place, which was crucial. And yeah, Tulovic looking up the inside at turn 5. You can certainly lose the race on lap 1. You can't win it. That's the number 13. Running wide, that's Matteo Reito from the outside of the second row. So not the best of opening laps for Reito. As Fermin Aldeguer then leads the way up the top of the hill, the highest point on the circuit, and then they'll flick it right and then come back down the spectacular final sector.
Lopez isn't looking comfortable, is he, in this early lap? He's running wide again there. He's getting, with the nature of some of these corners, you're able to take a tight late apex and make it work, but Tulovic is all over him in these early stages. He's managed to fend off the challenge of his teammate Norridin after that little moment he had at turn 5, and Tulovic is well placed here to get locked onto the rear wheel and into the slipstream down the main straight, and this could see a change for second place here. Lopez unable to do anything about Tulovic, who pulls out alongside, and he's surely going to have the line here into turn 1. Can Lopez hang it around the outside? No, he can't. Tulovic up to second.
There you go then. There's the first turn 1 move of the weekend, done and dusted, and it was a classy move from the number 3, who's made a fantastic start. And Algarve isn't getting away at this early stage. I know we've only completed a lap, but he got the perfect start. He was out front, clear air. Some may have thought, including us, Lewis, that if he got the perfect start, he would start to run away with it. But Tulovic is doing all he can to stick with him as he backs it into turn 5. That's lovely from the number 3 rider. And it's line astern. The top 5 are all close together here. Algarve leading Lopez, Tulovic, Norridin and Cardelus, with Kubo in 6th. And then there's a little bit of a gap back to Dimasecki in 7th place.
Yeah, that mistake on lap 1 really cost Matteo Rato. He's down to 9th now. He's down 3 places from his grid position. So a very impressive qualifying, but he's not been able to maximise it on this opening lap. Lopez looking like he's starting to regroup now and get it together as he chases Tulovic. And Algarve, who's getting it sideways, he's starting to pull out a little bit of a lead up front, fastest of anybody in the middle sector of this lap, and already a gap starting to open up. And Lopez, if he has got the pace to go with Algarve, he's got to make this move back on Tulovic pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was a sensational middle sector from Algarve, wasn't it? Tulovic and co were right behind him in the first couple of sectors, but he's pulled out. Alonso looking up the inside at turn 14. Not quite this time. He can see his teammate edging clear now. What can Alonso do then as he gets tucked up, flicks it right, and then coming over the start-finish straight? Can he get into the slipstream? Can he make a move into turn 1? Because, as we say, Algarve has now stretched out a lead. It'll be interesting to see what that is over the line. As they cross the line from lap 2, his lead is up to over half a second now, Algarve. So what can Alonso do down turn 1? He's in the slipstream, he pulls out, and he does exactly the same thing as Tulovic did to him on the previous lap. And Alonso Lopez is now back up to P2.
It was candy from a baby, wasn't it, down the main straight? Let's see if Tulovic can fight back, straight back. No, he cannot. So he's now going to have a bit of a hard time from his teammate once again, Adam Norridin. Cardelus and Kubo are keeping in touch with this podium group. Kubo was fastest of anyone in the final sector of that last lap. But it was a crucial move that for Lopez, because he was starting to already look a little bit impatient behind Tulovic. That move he tried to make into the right-hander towards the end of the lap was never going to work, and that's the sole Portimão Mandalika bike out of the running. Dimasecki Pratama has crashed out on just the 3rd lap of the race. Turn 15, the final corner, is where he has gone out, and that's already the end of their afternoon.
Yeah, that's a quick one for Dimasecki Pratama. So thankfully he's up and walking away. He'll be back out this afternoon, hopefully, to have another crack at it, as the riders now aim to try and hunt down Fermin Algarve. He's not pulled out too much advantage so far in this lap. Sector 2, a couple attempts quicker again. So Alonso isn't quite eating into his lead, but there's a long way to go yet. But these guys need to try and... Oh, and Tulovic is down. Tulovic is down at turn 13. Tucks the front, a classic turn 13 crash. Obviously pushing to try and keep with Alonso and Algarve, and Lucas Tulovic has crashed out. 3rd in the championship. That's a disaster for the German rider.
Yeah, that releases a bit of pressure off the Boscoscuros as well, doesn't it? Lopez was still not exactly gapping Tulovic, who was pretty quick through the first couple of sectors of that lap, but now that's released a bit of the pressure from Lopez as Algarve sets another new fastest lap of the race. The lead now up to 0.9 of a second over Lopez, with Norridin, Cardelus and Kubo still very much in touch, but that's a crucial incident in the race, that with Tulovic out of play. That removes perhaps the most obvious contender to the two Boscoscuros out front. Tulovic has remounted, as you can see, but here's what went wrong for him.
Yeah, so on the anchors into turn 13 at the top of the hill, and yeah, just a classic front end tuck. Just holding on to the brakes a little bit too long, a little bit too quick into the corner. And down he goes. He's back on track, so can Tulovic try and get himself back into the points? I think it's going to be a very difficult task. He's dropped down to P20. We'll see if he can carry on, but yeah, like you say, Lewis, disaster in the championship. He's 3rd. He was 64 points down on Algarve coming into this race. And Adam Norridin in 4th is only 3 points, so his teammate, who is now up to 3rd place, will be looking to make action on Tulovic, after his crash. Look at the sparks. That piece of tarmac down there, all of the track is sensational, but that piece of tarmac down there is absolutely sensational. We watched a little bit there, didn't we, yesterday, Lewis? And it is utterly bonkers how quick the Moto2 riders get it cranked over on the left-hand side and get it powering up the hill.
It is. It's one of those things that you don't quite appreciate until you see it at trackside. It's just an incredible spectacle to watch these motorcycles around a circuit such as this. Now, a couple of riders are going to take long lap penalties very, very shortly. They're not going to impact the action up at the front, but it is worth mentioning. Alessandro Rossetti, who's currently running in 12th position, and Juro Boboom, who's currently in 19th, just ahead of Tulovic. They're both going to serve long lap penalties very, very shortly for incorrect generators, essentially, that they used during qualifying.
What's happening here? I think it's just a replay of them going over the crest at turn 8 into turn 9, and there we see the sparks. We saw a couple of crashes there in MotoGP. Oliveira Marini, I think, went down there. It's a super quick place and a spectacular piece of tarmac, as we've mentioned. But what's the gap now between Aldeguer and Lopez? It's 0.9 seconds, so it's not creeping up over a second yet. It's Cardelus sets the fastest lap of the race. He's in P4. So yeah, Aldeguer not quite stretching clear as Carlos looks up the inside at turn 5. Not quite this time.
That's also a token gesture, that one, wasn't it? Yeah, it was a bit of a token gesture to remove that from Carlos. That was never going to work. But no, interestingly, Aldeguer was the slowest of the leading 4 on that last lap, 44.9, which isn't exactly slow. But Lopez and Norodin were a shade faster, and Carlos a couple of tenths quicker. So yeah, Aldeguer's not having it all his own way yet. And as long as that lead is around a second or below, this chasing group will still feel they're very much in with a shout here. Although Aldeguer has put in a stunning first sector on this lap, so maybe he's been given the hurry up.
It seems like Aldeguer can just turn it on whenever he wants, can't he? When he needs to just batten down the hatches and just stay calm, maybe in the opening few laps he can do it, but then he's got that switch, hasn't he? When he needs to, he'll just get the hammer down and start pulling clear.
Stay there for Cardelus. Not sure what happened to him there, but he got it all wrong. Coming out of the left-hander there of turn 13, and it ended up releasing Kubo, so we're not quite sure what happened to Carlos there. He just appeared to have no drive coming off the corner, so whether he had a moment mid-corner which just lost him all momentum, not entirely sure. We'll maybe get a replay of that, but it's released Kubo up into 4th place, and all that momentum that Carlos had built up has now all disappeared.
Yeah, it's a shame for Carlos, as we saw set the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap, and now he's lost all that momentum. So yeah, not good for Carlos, but he's shown he's got the pace so he can regroup and try and attack the podium places, but he's got to get past Kubo first and then up to Adam Norodin. So the gap there at the bottom of your screen is 1.4 seconds. It's now above the 1 second barrier. That's a healthy margin at this stage of the race for Fermin Aldeguer. As Alonso Lopez has Adam Norodin for company. He's not dropping in yet, is he? The number 7 is sticking right in there, and Norodin can sniff a 3rd podium of the season coming.
Yeah, it feels like Aldeguer, he's able to run that 144, high 144 pace pretty much at will, because he's pretty much hovering around that sort of 44.8, 44.9 range, and despite the fact that Cardelus and the guys ahead of him were quicker on the previous lap to the one that they've just finished, they were back into the 45s on the next lap, and of course with that mistake Cardelus did a 46.5, lost a second on that final sector of the lap, so that's cost them dearly. And Aldeguer, he's just got that level of consistency and that pace that he can set at will, whereas these guys can do it occasionally but not enough to launch a consistent threat to it.
Let's not forget he's still only 16 years old, and he's only just turned 16 as well. It looks like Aldeguer's got a fantastic career ahead of him. As we mentioned previously on the grid, he has MotoGP experience in the Moto2 class on the Grand Prix scene. So expect Aldeguer to be on your screens more often in 2022 next year. I'd hazard a guess he's probably going to move up into the Moto2 class. I don't know that for sure. It's all speculation at the minute, but with this sort of form, as we saw with Monte last year in exactly the same team, he won 6 races in a row. In 2020, Aldeguer, this will be his 6th win in a row if he goes on to win this race. And Monte obviously moved up into the Moto2 World Championship, and Aldeguer at just 16 years old will be pushing to do exactly the same.
I was going to say it'd be the top of my shopping list if I was looking for a Moto2 rider for next season. Here's an interesting battle going on. Sam Wilford has taken 6th position now with some of the drama ahead of him, but he's got Matteo Rato on his tail. Rato, of course, looking to recover from that moment that we saw, that mistake on the opening lap, and he's been chasing down Wilford of late. They're lapping in the 146s at the moment, comfortably quicker than the group behind them, which is led by Alex Toledo. Alex Escrig is in 9th. He has is commonly the case. He's the fastest and leading Superstock 600 runner, with Kyle Paz completing the top 10. Andrei Vostatek is the second of the Superstock 600 runners. He's 2.5 seconds behind Iskrik in their private battle in the 600 class.
Yeah, these two have got a bit of a lonely race on their hands, haven't they? Sam Wilford is a good 6 seconds behind Xavi Cardelouse in 6th, and Rato's gap to Toledo is 5 seconds. So yeah, a lonely race for these two riders, and if Wilford can stay there in P6, that'll be his best result in the Moto2 European Championship. So yeah, a nice little battle going on here between the number 35 and the number 13, both on Calexes, the Honda-powered Kalex, as we've seen so often in the Moto2 World Championship down the years until 2019, when we moved to the Triumph engines. Focus now back on the lead group, and what's the gap now? 1.6 seconds as Cardelouse shows a wheel to Kevin Kubo around the last corner. Not quite this time though, as we'll cross the line. There'll be 10 laps to go.
He's up and down like a yo-yo at the minute, isn't he, Cardelouse? He's quick at some points and then he drops back at others as they come across the line now. Cardelouse back in the 44s. A 44.4 though for Fermin Aldeguer, comfortably the fastest lap of the race. Lead now over 2 seconds as Cardelouse sideways. He basically threw his motorcycle at Kubo there as they went into turn 1. And Kubo, who's not shy of making a wild overtaking move, even he thought better of that one.
Proper backed it in there, didn't he, Cardelouse? On the anchors, down the hill, rear sliding everywhere, but he got it stopped, and it was a great pass into turn 1. And now he's going to set his sights on Kevin Kubo in 4th place. He's not got too much of a gap to bridge. Not Kevin Kubo in 4th place, sorry. Cardelouse is now in 4th place. The riders ahead of him is the podium spot. So yeah, if Cardelouse can get his head down, make no more mistakes, he can try and bridge the gap, which is just over 2 seconds to the Lopez and Norridin, who just went through his screen there, will rise up over the crest. Such a spectacular sight, isn't it? Watching the riders come over there, wheel in the air, body shape, trying to get the wheel back on the ground to get the power down and into this right-hander at the top of the hill, turn 11.
Yeah, I've got to say, as much as I'm enjoying this new side of Xavi Cardelouse, it wasn't exactly the cleanest and quickest way of making an overtaking move. As entertaining as it was, he lost a full 7 tenths in that first sector to the leader, Aldeguer, who admittedly is on a completely different level to the rest of them at the moment. As I say, lapping half a second quicker than anybody else out on track. But even with these great overtaking moves, he's still losing time outright to the guys ahead of him. So that's what's caused this 2 second gap to open up for Cardelouse. He's clearly got the pace to run with these two ahead of him who are fighting for second place, Lopez and Norridin, who are also doing high 44s. They're not on a pace that Cardelouse can't match or better himself. But at the moment, he's making too many errors to really launch a real challenge to them as they come across the line again. That last lap for Cardelouse was a 45.9, including the overtake, of course. That was a full 7 tenths slower than the battle for second place. He's now got 3 seconds to make up.
With 9 laps to go, 3 seconds, it looks like a bit of a job on for Cardelouse in 4th place. He's chasing his first podium of the season. If he can get up to the rear wheel of Norridin, that will be a podium place. So he's got the bait hanging in front of him. Can Cardelouse just stop being so untidy, shall we say, get his head down, hit his lines, hit the apexes, and bridge the gap? But these two are doing very well. Line astern, but no one's matching this man at the minute. Fermin Aldeguer, 2.4 second lead now. But who will finish second? It's important for Lopez to finish second, as we mentioned earlier, Lewis. He's finished second to Aldeguer in all of the races so far this year. If you can't win, then obviously second place is the best result you can get. So Alonso really needs to try and keep Norridin at bay here to minimise the damage. Yeah,
just keep yourself in position. Just leave yourself right there in case this man on screen makes a mistake, which admittedly have been few and far between this season. But that's all it takes. One mistake for Aldeguer, and it opens the championship wide open. But it's interesting with Norridin running so close in 3rd. Is he just playing a patient game behind Lopez, running just a couple of tenths behind him? He's certainly close enough behind Lopez to make it clear that he's not struggling to hang on to the back of that Boscasur, although that gap looks a little bit more than 2 tenths right now. But whether Norridin's playing a patient game or whether he is just on the limit trying to match the pace of Lopez, I guess we'll find out in the second half of the race. And we'll see who's got more tyre left in the second half of the race. I'd hazard a guess it's not going to be Xavi Cardelouse, given the lines we've seen him making on a few occasions. As you see him at the top of the screen with a clear lap now following the overtake. He was still in the 46s, a 46.0 again, another half second slower than the battle for second. So you get the impression that Cardelus is subject to any mistakes up ahead of him. Fourth is the best he can expect. And Norradin is now going to be the one that we're keeping an eye on to see if he can make a dent on Alonso Lopez up ahead of him.
Yeah, good pace from these two, Lopez and Norradin in second and third. Cardelus just had a few scrappy moments, obviously made that mistake and it's cost him time as Norradin runs a little bit wide on the run into turn 5, gets it gathered up though and hits the apex. And yeah, like you say, Lewis, this is going to be very interesting. 7.5 laps to go, entering the crucial stage of the race. Will be interesting to see what the tyre wear is like, and if Norradin is just sitting there working where Alonso's quick, where he might be not so quick, where his strengths and weaknesses lie. And then, yeah, if Norradin can pass Lopez in second, that will be his best result in the European Moto2 Championship. So the prize is there, but is Lopez just holding him at bay quite comfortably? Is Norradin on the limit? We're going to find out in the next 7.25 laps, that's for sure.
Yeah, just an update on the battle for 6th place. Sam Wilford still leads it over Matteo Rato, although we're just 0.05 of a second apart as they came across the line last time around. So we'll see if there has been a change there. I get the feeling that it has, looking at their sector times on this current lap. I get the feeling Rato may have made the move there finally on the Brit for 6th position. We'll confirm that as they come across the line next time around. Alex Toledo still holds 8th ahead of Alex Strig, the leading Superstock 600 runner, and Kyle Paz continues to complete the top 10 at the moment as we head into the second half of this race. Aldeguer's lead is now 3.6 seconds. He's continuing to hammer away in those high 44s, low 45s, and nobody can match that.
It's so impressive, isn't it? So impressive. 16 years old on a Moto2 bike at Portimão, a very, very difficult circuit to learn. Yes, he's been here before on a Superstock 600 we've seen last year, which he did very well at, incidentally finishing in the top 10. Having a couple of Moto2 scalps in the process. But it's so impressive from Aldeguer. Such a young age. He's still obviously learning. He's still improving his racecraft. But to be lapping consistently in the 144s is just excellent stuff from Aldeguer. And like we say, I'll be very, very shocked if we don't see him on the world stage full time next year.
Yeah, you get the feeling with him, with such a young age, his ceiling of potential is still very, very high. There's still an awful lot more to come from Fermin Aldeguer. As we look at the battle for 8th position, Alex Toledo leading the leading Superstock 600 runner, Alex Strig, as mentioned. He's undefeated in that class this season, and that's looking like continuing at the moment. I mentioned it a moment ago, and I can confirm Matteo Rato did get past Sam Wilford on the last lap. He's now up into 6th position, back where he started this race. Although Wilford, if he does hang on to 7th, then he's got a comfortable gap behind him of 11 seconds back to Alex Toledo. That would still equal Wilford's best result in this championship.
Yeah, P6 or P7, a good race so far from Sam Wilford, and an equally good race also from Matteo Rato. Lopez then still not dropping Norradin. We mentioned it, didn't we, a lap or two ago. We're going to cross the line for 6 laps to go when Aldeguer takes the line. There it is, 6 laps to go then. What's the gap up to now? It's up to 4 seconds. So yeah, Aldeguer continuing to set that impressive pace, and unfortunately for teammate Alonso Lopez, just can't quite match it in race 1. We'll go back to the drawing board in race 2. Have a look at where Aldeguer's quicker, maybe where he's slower, and maybe in race 2 he'll come out again fighting. It's still not over though, 6 laps to go. A lot can happen in 6 laps. But yeah, the gap up to 4 seconds, and there's 4 tenths between Norradin, who's keeping tabs on Lopez. So this is going to be very interesting with 5.5 laps to go.
Yeah, Norradin matched Lopez for pace on that last lap. The fact that they're still lapping in the mid-45 shows what a good race they're having. It's not like anything on the level of Aldeguer, but he's, as I mentioned, he's essentially in a different class to the rest of them at the moment, just riding an extraordinary pace. Lopez doing his personal best first sector though on that last lap, which has pulled him a further 3 tenths clear of Norradin. So is this the crucial moment where Lopez is able to finally break the challenge of the Malaysian behind him? 3rd place would still be an equal vest in this championship for Adam Norradin though, so he would by no means be unhappy if he ended up having to settle for 3rd place. And you do get the feeling if he does sense that Lopez has got a little bit too much for him, whether Norradin will just settle for what he's got.
Yeah, just as a reference, last year's pole time from Yari Monte was a 45.4. So Lopez and Norradin in the 45s is seriously good pace. Unfortunately for them, Aldeguer has just got even better pace But yeah, Lopez and Norridin doing very, very well in second and third place.
Yeah, and Algarve's fastest lap of this race, a 44.4, was just half a tenth slower than his own pole position yesterday, which again tells you the kind of pace that this young Spaniard is able to set. He is absolutely dominating this first race of the day, and of course the second race to come, and he will feel that he's in a great position to cash in and take another maximum haul of points. Lopez, of course, will have other ideas, and again later on today, if this race does finish the way it's currently running, again Lopez will be thinking he's got to try and make the start, because Algarve absolutely nailed the start of this race earlier on. Here is the battle for second then. It's still 0.4 of a second. Once again, Norridin able to essentially match Lopez. It's interesting when you look at the sector times of these two. Lopez always seems to be much faster in the first sector of the lap, but then Norridin claims it all back in the final sector of the lap, pulling back that entire 0.3 of a second. So it seems to be toing and froing between the two. Just as Lopez appears to be stretching that out, Norridin just pulls him back in again. And with 5 laps to go, there's certainly no margin for error for Lopez. One mistake and second place will disappear.
Here is the battle then for 8th. That's Alex Toledo, who finished second in the 2020 Superstock 600, 18 points behind Fermin Algarve. Had a good battle actually with Algarve last year in the Superstock class. And he's got the number 32 of Paz for company, as well as Ishizuka just there in 11th place. So a nice little battle here for the lower ends of the top 10. Sorry, Eskrig is the number 11 and Paz is the number 32. Paz has passed Eskrig, obviously. There's the number 11 of Alex Toledo, the Superstock 600 leader. He's won every race in that class so far. To watch them come over hill, and I've just seen there actually, I did thought that a couple of corners ago. I think the number 55 of Alex Toledo. Yeah, there it is. His fairing's just hanging off there. So I'm not sure what's happened, but hopefully that doesn't cause too many issues. I hope it doesn't suddenly fly off into the path of the number 32 or Alex Toledo.
It's certainly not going to help him down the straights, is it? With that sticking out on the straights as he tries to make himself as aerodynamic as possible. But it'll be interesting if the stewards take a look at that. I mean, it looks as if it's hanging on at the moment. But if that becomes any more loose, then you wouldn't be surprised if he gets a black and orange flag for that with that 55. It's as I say, it's okay at the moment. But the last thing you want is that flying off down the main straight and you know, producing a real hazard at top speed down the straight. Let's see what happens now as he comes on the straight, because there'll be a lot of buffeting now as he comes down the straight with that. He's going to lose the place now as Paz just breezes past him. It's certainly not helping Toledo, as it's essentially he's got an extra wing on, hasn't he, as it's sticking out on his on the left hand side, the rider's left of that bike. It's really hanging loose, and the concern that he'll have as well is when he tips it in on the left-handers, that's going to be really scraping along the floor and doing potential damage. So yeah, the stewards will be getting a little bit fidgety looking at that. Yeah,
they've got to keep a close eye on that, haven't they? Because, like we say, the last thing that anyone needs on track is for a piece of the fairing to come off into the road as the number 32 runs wide down the hill onto the green, and that allows Alex Toledo to move through as well. Wait, what's happened with the timing screens here? I'm confused, Lewis. What's just happened to the timing screen?
Not sure at the moment, but as I say, we'll keep an eye on that. Algarve, we can confirm, is still comfortably out in front, with Lopez still with a half-second lead over Norridin. Well, as I say, we'll keep a close eye on this issue with Alex Toledo, who, as I say, who's dropped a spot. We'll keep an eye on him, particularly when he comes onto the main straight again, because he's got a bit of a gap. Clearly, when he's in the middle sector of this lap and the tight, twisty sections of the lap, it's not holding him back at all. But it was noticeable when he came out of the last corner last time around. He just had absolutely nothing as he came out of the last corner for Paz behind him. But the VR46 Mastercam team will be particularly frustrated with that. Paz had got the move done into turn 1. He'd got the break, he'd got clear track ahead of him, and then just threw it all away with that mistake into turn 5. He went down the Formula 1 route, didn't he? Down the long hairpin at turn 5 and just lost all that time again. And he's now got only 3 laps to try and chase down Toledo and Eskrig, who've now passed him into 8th and 9th positions respectively. 3 to go then. Algarve, who's still setting personal best sector times at the moment, is dominant as he's been. His lead is just shy of 5 seconds. Lopez and Norridin still separated by just under half a second, but time running out for Norridin, as that is the end of one of the VR46 Mastercam riders, and Kenneth Kubo
Another
Isn't
DNF.
that just the story of his season? When he sees the checkered flag, he's generally somewhere near the podium, but seeing the checkered flag is proving rather difficult.
What happened then down into turn 5? The tricky left-hander sucks you in. He's slightly wide there, isn't he, on the dirty part of the track, and the front just says, no, I'm not having it anymore, and down he goes. Thankfully he's up and okay, but yeah, another DNF for Kubo.
And that corner hasn't been kind to the VR46 Mastercam team, has it, over the last 2 minutes? We've already seen Paz run straight on there. Of course, that will promote him back into the 9th position that he had before he went straight on. But yeah, he's now, of course, the sole VR46 Mastercam team rider running with Kubo out of contention. Aldeguer then out of the final corner, just 2 laps to go as he crosses the line, and he's still in the 45, so he's now doing a 45.9. Which is still faster generally than the riders ahead of him, although Lopez has responded with a 45.7. He's now got essentially a second in hand now over Adam Noureddin. So second place looks as if it's settled in favour of Lopez, and it looks as if the unbeaten record of the Bosco-Scuro talent team chatty riders of having a 1-2 in every race looks set to continue.
That's Joel Borboom getting out of the way of your race leader out again. Yeah, like you say, Luis Alonso Lopez looking like he's just got Noureddin covered for second place with 2 laps to go, but it's been all about this man once again in the Moto2 European Championship. Another classy ride from Aldeguer, a very mature ride, got the perfect getaway down into turn 1, got the whole shot, and he's never looked back. Had a not a chill, I wouldn't say it was chilled out, but a calm opening couple of laps, opening 2-3 laps, and then he's just pulled the pin and slowly edge clear, 4.6 seconds. Not job done yet. He's still got to concentrate into the final lap and a half, but it's looking really, really promising once again for Fermin Aldeguer.
Yeah, and he doesn't exactly look chilled on the bike, does he? But that's pretty much how you ride these Moto2 machines to get the best out of them. And boy, is Aldeguer getting the best out of this. I guess the unanswered question, the real unanswered question that we'll have going into race 2 this afternoon is what Lukas Tulovic could have done. A, had he made that move stick on Lopez early on, but also had he not crashed out of what would have likely been a podium position. So Tulovic will certainly have his eyes on a better showing this afternoon. Lopez will obviously be looking at this race this afternoon thinking, I've got to try and make the start and try and disrupt this incredible rhythm that Aldeguer has. Once he gets into his rhythm out front and has some clear track behind and ahead, he's very, very difficult to stop as he starts the final lap of the race and still lapping in the 45s. Lopez has now got 1.2 seconds in hand over Noureddin, so second place appears to be sewn up subject to any mistakes on the final lap. Cardeluz has got empty track in front and behind him for 4th place, with Ratto 5th, and Sam Wilford is now on course with that error of Kubo. Sam Wilford is on course for his first top 6 finish in the European Moto2 Championship. Yeah,
brilliant for the Brit then in 6th place. As we focus in on Noureddin, I think he's going to have to settle for 3rd place, but no matter, it's another podium if he can keep it upright for Noureddin. As Lopez comfortably rounds the tricky turn 5, we've seen a couple of riders make mistakes there. No such issues for Fermin Aldeguer as the team watch on intently, hoping their man can complete the final lap without any issues. Will rise over the hill for the last time this morning. Of course, they'll go again this afternoon for race 2. Aldeguer down the hill through the left-hander nice and cleanly. He's got a comfortable 4.9 second lead to play with, so he can just ease his way round the Algarve International circuit and enjoy this last lap. As he, hopefully, for his sake, takes another win.
Yeah, and the charge from essentially the back of the field for Tulovic isn't going to yield any points, unfortunately. He's still back in 17th place. His pace is pretty decent. He's lapping in the low 46s, which is quicker than everybody except the current top 3. He's quicker than Cardeluz, quicker than Reto, and quicker than everyone else behind them. So Tulovic clearly got some decent pace, but not enough to get himself into the points.
Here he is then, Fermin Aldeguer rounds the final corner here in race 1 in Portimão. He'll rise over the crest of the hill and win his 6th race in a row in 2021. Another masterclass from the number 54. The team celebrates another 1-2 as Alonso Lopez will take 2nd place. Yes, he does, and Noureddin grabs his 3rd podium of the season in 3rd place.
Yeah, Cardeluz taking 4th position in the end. Borboom coming across the line just behind him, a lap behind. He will fail to score any points. Reto does come across the line in 5th position, 1 up from his qualifying position. And Sam Wilford does come across the line in 6th position for his best result as a CEV Moto2 European Championship rider.
Another outstanding ride from Aldeguer as we see the lower ends of the top 10 come across the line. the number 32 of Paz did eventually get the better of Toledo and Escrig, so a good recovery there from his turn 5 running wide incident from Paz, and he claimed 7th place. A good result then in the end for the VR46 Mastercamp rider. There's the winner of the Superstock 600 race once again. It's Alex Escrig. He finishes 9th overall, so another great ride there from the Spaniard, but it was all about this rider once again. Algarve pulls a nice stand-up wheelie up the hill. I'm sure there'll be plenty more of them to come in the future for the 16-year-old. An absolutely outstanding ride here at the roller coaster that is Portimão. Just waves low to the marshals. And yeah, such a mature ride from Algarve. Another 2nd place then goes to this man, Alonso Lopez. He'll be disappointed with another 2nd, but like we've said before, if you can't win the race, then pick up 20 points and finish 2nd. He's now 30 points down on Algarve in the championship, but with Algarve winning every single race, 30 points isn't actually too much of a gap considering the Spaniard's dominance. Adam Noureddin, 3rd place. That's his 3rd P3 of the season. Suffered a DNF in Barcelona race 1, which just dented his championship hopes slightly. But in the races he's finished this year, he's not finished lower than 4th. So Noureddin really putting together a very strong European Moto2 championship in 2021. And after Lukas Tulovic crashed just there at the top of the hill, turn 13 in the early stages, Noureddin will now move up to 3rd in the championship. High fives then for the winner of the Moto2 European Championship race and the winner of the Superstock 600 class, Alex Escrig and Fermin Algarve. They'll be more than pleased with their morning's work here at the Algarve International Circuit. They'll go away, have a look at how the race went on the data, and they'll be back out this afternoon for the final race of the day after we've had the Hawkers European Talent Cup and Moto3 Junior World Championship. They're coming your way shortly. The Talent Cup riders will be out first. Ooh. I was going to say a nice little endo. I'm sure he had it under control, but I thought for a slight minute that he got that a bit wrong, did Algarve, but no such troubles. Hugs all round in Parc Fermé. Another win. That's 6 now in a row for Fermin Algarve. Yeah, I'll be very, very surprised, as I'm sure most people will, if he's not on the world stage full-time next year. Of course, he's riding in Moto E. It's his debut season. He's 11th in the FIMN or Moto E World